I'm going to talk today about why High Speed 2 is important and the long-term changes that High Speed 2 can create. To do that, I'm going to take you along the High Speed 2 timeline, beginning with the planning phase, so the phase that we're in at the moment, and we'll look at the way High Speed 2 is already helping to transform the way that we think about transport and transport projects. Then we'll travel through from 2017, so only 2 years away, when we intend to start construction, through to 2025, the completion of the construction process. And during that phase, look at how we can change the way that infrastructure is delivered in this country. And finally, I'll take you to 2026, when our railway will open, and high-speed trains will be reshaping the economic geography of Britain. So don't worry, my speech isn't 11 years, it's just 15 minutes, but I hope at the end of it to have given you some idea of the opportunities that High Speed 2 will create. So if we start with the need for High Speed 2 and look at the problems that we face here and now with our economy, with the issues that are constraining the country and its people, the problems that require a solution as substantial and radical as High Speed 2. Many of us know we operate a two-speed economy. So just looking at the slide here, the differences between the north and the south are stark. So this is GVA per worker, per head, is nearly 50% higher in London than it is in the northwest. That's an enormous difference and a much bigger differential than you see in our European competitors. The North needs better connectivity and it needs to improve its productivity. High Speed 2 isn't the only answer to that, of course, but it can play a really important role in helping the northern economy develop to its full potential. Meanwhile, in the south, we have an overcrowded economy, overheated transport system, so rebalancing that will be good for the country as a whole. Improving connectivity, therefore, is an essential part of raising productivity and prosperity across the country. And it's particularly true of knowledge-based industries, where high-speed connections can really help and where Britain has a global competitive edge. So high-tech manufacturing, creative transport, creative industries, finance and law, these are all the sorts of industries that will really benefit from improving connectivity between our major cities. So High Speed 2 will actually connect 8 of our 10 largest cities, and it will bring benefits through directly through connections to the high-speed network and also by releasing capacity on the existing network to over 100 towns and cities in Britain. It will connect directly into urban and regional transport networks, including Crossrail, London Underground, of course, Birmingham People Mover that will provide, Manchester Trams and local bus and taxi services. So really making sure that the benefits of High Speed 2 are spread as widely as possible, allowing millions of people to access high-speed travel. It's not just connectivity, of course, that we need to improve, but also we face a real capacity issue on the railways. And many of the issues I think Mark was talking about earlier from Network Rail are the problems that we are facing because capacity is under such strain on the existing railway. I think as has been said before, over the last 20 years, 15 years, we've seen a doubling of the number of people using the railway. Massive growth. That growth is still continuing. By 2040, so only 25 years away, Britain's population is expected to swell by nearly 10 million people. And our country is also becoming increasingly urbanised. By 2050, our urban population is expected to increase by 14 million people. That's more than the combined populations of Greater London and Greater Manchester today. So improving connections between our cities is going to be absolutely fundamental to being able to support the economy in the future. And our current railway, as we've already heard, is increasingly under strain, particularly the West Coast Main Line, which will be the first line to be relieved by High Speed 2. Networks Rail's own analysis suggests that will practically be full by the middle of the next decade. On High Speed 2, we will provide a step change in the capacity on the railway, so up to 1,100 seats per train, and as you can see here, up to 300,000 seats per day. 14 in the first phase, when we open to Birmingham in 2026, 14 trains can travel in each direction. When we open phase 2 through to Manchester and Leeds, we can accommodate 18 trains in each direction. So creating a really enormous step increase in capacity. And not only will we add capacity on High Speed 2, but that will relieve the existing railway, freeing up capacity for more local and regional services. So places like Milton Keynes, Rugby and Northampton will benefit from more local connections. And more freight paths as well. So it's estimated that about an additional 500,000 HGV lorries could be taken off the motorways each year by the freight capacity that we will release on the existing railway. So that's really what we're trying to do. Capacity and connectivity are two key themes. This is how we will judge ourselves in the future, our criteria for success. Essentially, we will be judged by whether we really do provide that catalyst for growth across Britain. It's not just the direct benefit of capacity and connectivity, what it adds to the economy that is really what matters. So I want to move on to the planning phase. And what we are already beginning to see, High Speed 2 beginning to help the way we develop and shape transport projects. It has been a tremendous planning activity to date. As you can imagine, designing and planning a new high-speed railway has been a massive challenge. We've spent a lot of time trying to get the routes and the stations right and make sure that High Speed 2 will be properly integrated with other transport networks. This is really essential to make sure that High Speed 2 really does stand the test of time and is the best strategic solution. So High Speed 2 will be a better project as a result of all of that, that planning activity. But we've also seen a secondary benefit, I think, from the work that we've been doing from High Speed 2, and that's really about focusing attention and energy on looking at the more complex and long-term issues that affect our regional and local economies. So you're seeing in the cities in the north and in the Midlands, those city regions and local businesses really beginning to focus and discuss how to stimulate their local economies off the back of High Speed 2, how to identify and remove the constraints that are holding them back, how best to plan for the future, how to build connections across their regions. So we are sparking a whole load of knock-on positive consequences in the way that we're addressing our local and regional transport issues, not just focusing on transport, but focusing on the economic results that transport can help create. Just to take one example, Birmingham City Council has published a draft master plan showing how the High Speed 2 station arriving in Birmingham can really stimulate a redevelopment of a whole new part of the city where they've already had plans, but High Speed 2 will really be the catalyst, leading to the creation of 14,000 jobs, 600,000 metres of new business space, 2,000 new homes, and a 1.3 billion economic uplift. We've also, I think, through David Higgins' report, also brought people together in the planning around High Speed 2 and indeed High Speed 3. David has now published 3 reports, 3 important recommendations there. First, recommending that east-west connections are substantially improved across Britain. It's not just about improving the north-south connections with High Speed 2. And we're working very closely with Network Rail now and looking at how those east-west connections can be improved as well. Secondly, David recommended that Britain develops a national transport strategy. You know, this is familiar music to many people's ears, but that really needs to bring together, looking at all of the modes together and having a real long-term plan for the future. And thirdly, recommending the formation of a new body to bring all of that together for the North, Transport for the North. And that has already been acted upon, is making a real difference now, developed a really ambitious transport strategy for the North and joining up cross-regional issues and priorities. So I think High Speed 2 has been a catalyst for all of that. It's really got people to focusing on the transport agenda and how important transport infrastructure is. And as just to illustrate that the ambitions now to really join up, building on, connecting with High Speed 2 all the way across the north, right through from Liverpool across to Hull and York and Newcastle as well. Moving on to construction, so we're moving forward to 2017 now and looking at how we will actually build High Speed 2. Now, our construction programme can't be business as usual. We need a world-class railway as soon as possible with the capacity issues that we face, but we also recognise we've got to deliver value for taxpayers' money. It's a massive investment, and we've really got to make sure that we're using that money carefully. So we need to build High Speed 2 better, faster and cheaper than any other railway in the UK, and that really is quite a challenge. And it means that we need to do more than just use existing methods. No matter how good they are, we are going to have to innovate, and that's the only way that we can actually meet these challenges for High Speed 2. We want our design to be really truly transformational as well, to go beyond just looking good and working well. Given the scale and importance of High Speed 2 to the nation, every design task that we undertake is critical. We want to create a railway that people will feel proud of. So we've created a design vision to inspire us and guide us as we go through the design phase and then into construction. And that will look at every aspect of what we're doing, our trains and our stations, our bridges and our tunnels, the landscapes and townscapes through which we pass, and through to the design for the passenger, ticketing and communications, building on many of the themes that we've already heard about today. And our design vision is based around these three concepts of people, place and time. So designed for everyone, not just those who use the railway, but those who will look at the railway, the communities that we pass through. We want them to feel proud of High Speed 2 ultimately as well. Designed with a sense of place, so create places and spaces that support local quality of life, respect the natural world, and celebrate the local within a coherent design strategy. And also focusing on place, on time, and people's personal time, obviously at a premium, but also making sure that High Speed 2 is adaptable for future generations and will stand the test of time. And we're appointing a design panel now to help us deliver that design vision, chaired by Sadie Morgan, who many of you will know is an award-winning architect. But we'll have to be looking at other innovations as well to make sure that we deliver to time and budget. We'll be looking at using BIM, so building information modelling, to the maximum extent to make sure that we can digitally design a virtual railway, test it and make sure it works, and build it before we build it in practice. And that will minimise the rework and finding out we're wrong when we actually deliver it. And we'll also be making use of extensive modularisation. So all these sorts of innovations and more we will have to build into the delivery of High Speed 2. But we also want to make sure, and this is a theme that we've touched on a lot, that we leave a legacy for jobs and also for equality. So we will be creating nearly 25,000 construction jobs and supporting about 100,000 jobs around our stations. And we're determined that this once-in-a-generation opportunity will benefit as many people as possible and as diverse a range of people as possible, including underrepresented peoples and businesses. So we will have over 2,000 apprenticeships. Many new graduates will have their first job working on High Speed 2. And we recognise many of the issues that have been discussed here today. We want 60% of our jobs to go to the supply to small and medium-sized enterprises. And we want to really expand the opportunities and skills and employment across the supply chain. Our construction industry, and I think Kirsty has mentioned, looking at, I've heard our audience today, we are not a diverse industry. In the UK, only 7% of engineers are women. In the rail industry, it's only 4%. We have an enormous challenge. And I think there's increasing recognition of the value of diversity. McKinsey's recent report, Why Diversity Matters, of high-performing businesses have a diverse workforce. We've been doing a lot in High Speed 2 to try to encourage this. We have a real opportunity with our 20-year pipeline. Again, a comment earlier that when you're looking short-term, there's not the incentive to invest. We have a 20-year pipeline with High Speed 2, so a real opportunity for our supply chain to invest and to make sure, too, then, that they've built up their workforce, their products, their research and development capabilities, not just for High Speed 2, but then so that they have a legacy for the future, developing exportable skills and products. Just in High Speed 2, we're also trying to develop our skills agenda. We've been going out into schools to try to spread the message and get young people interested. We have our own education program, which we set up in 2013. We have a number of over 40 educational ambassadors within the project who go out and talk to young people in schools. And already they've volunteered over 25,000 hours to encourage school children to explore careers in engineering, particularly focusing on 11 to 16-year-olds and giving them careers guidance and advice. So it's a big challenge, but as I say, we're trying to really make sure that we play our part, and our ambition really is to help transform the construction industry in this respect. Finally, quickly onto operation, and focusing on 2026, our railway opens, and our ambition then is to have a railway that's as good as any railway anywhere in the world. So setting really high standards of service never seen before in this country. So just a small ambition there. When the first trains start from running between London and Birmingham, the travel between those two cities is going to be transformed. Journey times will shrink from 81 minutes to 49 minutes. Services will be safe and reliable. Our services will be integrated with the existing railway from the start. So our trains will be able to run from just north of Birmingham. They will join the existing West Coast Main Line. So it's not just Birmingham that will benefit in that first phase, but services will run on to Manchester, to Liverpool and to Glasgow, even in that first phase. So millions of people will have access to high-speed journeys just 7 years before phase 2 opens. Then when phase 2 opens to Manchester and Leeds, even bigger opportunities. So the journey time from Manchester to London will reduce from 2 hours at the moment to just over an hour and 8 minutes. But also importantly, interregional connections. So at the moment, Leeds to Birmingham takes about 2 hours. That will be under an hour with high speed 2. Really opening up massive opportunities in terms of where businesses locate, where people can work, access to customer base, and so on. So a real massive opportunity. Some examples of some of the journey times now. But as I say, this is the transformation that high speed 2 can bring in travel, but off the back of that, the transformation that we expect to see in terms of local economies, the regional economies, and particularly the northern powerhouse. Businesses will change their investment decisions and location decisions, and in fact we're already beginning to see that. There's already talk about how the Digbeth area in Birmingham businesses there are already anticipating the arrival of high speed 2. So this is not just something that will happen in 2026, it will build up over time, but by 2026 we really expect to see some real transformation in the way these cities are functioning and the attractiveness of them to business and to workers. So the end result that we hope to see, this is about really having balanced growth across the economy. London can grow sustainably because we can relieve some of the constraints facing London, and the Midlands and North achieve their full potential. So that's our journey across High Speed 2's timeline. I hope that's given you a bit of an idea of the potential of the project for the country and for business, for our skills. But to achieve our ambitions, we recognise that we need the support of the whole industry. We will be working with many of you in the future, and I look forward to going with you on this journey through to 2026 and beyond. So thank you very much.